What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Marlowe Life. And I know I just made the most recent video was about ending this channel, but I was sort of got to thinking, and a combination of just thinking about starting a new channel or keeping this channel. In addition to, there's some glitches on my newer channel that we were going to start uploading on, like monetization, for example. There's like a glitch where it's not recognizing monetization issues, and also some other analytical things. So what I thought we could do would probably be the best solution would to be just to keep this channel, but we're just going to change direction and content. And I know that's kind of contradictory to what we spoke about last time, but I kind of just figured I've already got this channel already built up. You guys are already over here. I'm in the habit of uploading on here. So let's just keep the channel. You definitely, still take the words that I said in my last video to be true. We're definitely going to be changing direction content-wise and topic-wise. But I've already got some book videos on this channel too, so I guess we're just going to keep the ball rolling on this channel for now. If for some reason I decide to switch it to another channel, trying to fix my hat here, I will definitely let you guys know about that in the future. But I think for now, it's just going to be a little easier for everybody just to keep everything on this channel. So I hope that's okay with you guys. Sorry for the false alarm on the last video that we talked about. So today we're going to be doing a little book haul. It's rather extensive, so make sure you guys grab a coffee, grab a tea. Going to be talking about some great books. So let's do it. We'll start with the hardcover books. I think these are all new acquisitions. I think first we'll talk about the books that I'm currently reading. Let's start there. Real quick, these are the books that I'm currently reading, in the process of reading. Possible book reviews for all of these as well. We talked a little bit about Esoteric Hollywood by Jay Dyer. I actually haven't read it in about a week. I'm slacking on it a little bit. And the reason is because there's a lot of references to films that I simply haven't seen. Jay Dyer's work focuses on esotericism and sort of latent conspiracies that we see coming out of Hollywood. And super interesting stuff, but it's just a little bit dry, I think, for what I'm into at the moment. Very stimulating, very interesting, but there's a lot of topical film references that he's making that I just haven't seen the movies. Having said that, you can learn a lot about the movies without even watching some of them, and he does cover a great deal of films that I have seen, which is great. And you can kind of read between the lines and learn about other things outside of just the movies themselves by reading this. But like I said, just been a little bit dry lately, so I haven't really been reading that as much as I should. Here's another one I've been slacking off on the last couple of days, War and Peace. I'm about that far into it. No, wait, I'm sorry. I'm about this far into it right here where that bookmark is. So we've got a nice little dent of War and Peace accomplished here, as you guys can see. It's a pretty decent dent. Really enjoying this, really beautiful. I'm making tons of annotations. As you guys can see here, it's definitely a novel that you're going to want to sit with, and kind of like Benjamin McVoy talks about, you're not going to read this in 1 week or 1 month. This book will probably take you at least 6 months, maybe 4 or 5 months if you're a fast reader. But you can't speed read Leo Tolstoy. It's just not possible. And like I said, what Benjamin McVoy was talking about is to allow your reading to have many sleep cycles. That way it sort of starts to bloom in your subconscious mind, and you start to, remember things sink in a different way. Speed reading has its place, but I don't think that I am a speed reader. I can read rather quickly, but I don't think it's beneficial to just speed through books. So take your time, especially with Leo Tolstoy. Okay, so I've started 3 other novels. One of them is a play. I did show you guys the copy of Romeo and Juliet, but I've actually started reading it. I'm almost done. My books keep falling to the floor. As you can see, we're almost done. I should probably put these over here. Making tons of annotations. All kinds of cool stuff. It's mostly color-coded with green, blue, and pink. And the pink is because it's a love story. It's Romeo and Juliet, right? but especially for Juliet's quotes, I will usually highlight them in pink so I can refer back to them. It's a beautiful story. There's a lot of symbolism, a lot of beautiful poetry in Shakespeare, and my history with Shakespeare is not very extensive. I read Romeo and Juliet back in high school like everybody did, and I was always a little bit curious about it, but just kind of fell out of the interest. Up until lately, I've been watching Benjamin McVoy again, and he kind of inspired me to start reading Shakespeare. You guys should go check out Benjamin McVoy, super inspirational channel. So yeah, we'll possibly be doing a play review of Romeo and Juliet soon. Also started Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, and I'm really enjoying this. And James Baldwin is kind of like, I struggle with his writing a little bit, but I really love it. There's something very visceral about James Baldwin's novels. This is my first experience with a James Baldwin novel, but this is definitely a good place to start. It's about James Baldwin in Paris. I'll try not to give too much away unless we do a review. But he's basically, he grows up in New York, and he is aware of his attraction to men and also his sort of disassociative relationship he feels with his father. They're kind of at odds, but they love each other a lot. And he gets into a bad accident, and kind of talks about a sort of a near-death experience type deal. And then he goes to Paris. This was published in 1956, so it's rather old. This copy is brand new, but it's about him trying to find himself in Paris, and remembering where he came from, and he also embarks on further relationships with both women and men while he's in Paris. It's a super good book, just about the human condition, about somebody who's kind of struggles to find themselves, kind of like I do. So I definitely recommend James Baldwin. He has a lot of elements of Charles Bukowski, but in a more tasteful way. He has that visceral quality. His life is interesting, and it's kind of gritty, and there's always something there to sink your teeth into. So I definitely recommend that. We'll definitely be doing a book review of James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room. So up fourthly, we have this really hidden gem of a classic called Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe is also the author of Robinson Crusoe. You guys have probably heard of him over the years. I'll just read you guys a little snippet of the back here. One of the most determined, energetic, and lusty heroines in all of English literature. I read that and I was like, okay, I should probably read this. Daniel Defoe's Moll Flanders will do anything to avoid poverty. Born in Newgate Prison, she was for 12 years a whore, 5 times a wife, once to her own brother, 12 years a thief, and 8 years as a transported felon in Virginia, before finally scraping from the life of immorality and wickedness imposed on her by society. So you could sort of read it as a very early fictionalized version of the condition of women, women's rights, written from a male perspective, but it's very feminine. You kind of get lost into the world of Moll Flanders. It's super interesting. I'm really enjoying this. I'll put a pretty decent dent in this so far, and this is something else I can add to my Barnes & Noble's Classics collection, which I quite like. These Barnes & Noble's Classics editions are beautiful. They're almost more beautiful than the Penguins. This one was published in 2005, so it's kind of vintage, might be kind of rare. Good to have these in your collection. We're going to do like a little tour of my Barnes & Noble's book collection at some point too. Definitely recommend Moll Flanders. It's sort of in the vein of like Jane Eyre or Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte type of deal, but it's a little more visceral, a little more down and out, a little more depressing, and that's what I like. I don't like those real privileged classics about women, like, I don't know, like a lot, like some of the Jane Austen stuff. To be fair, I haven't really read Jane Austen, so I don't know if all of her novels are like that. But you guys know what I'm talking about, that upper class sort of 18th century British type history, literature type stuff. I prefer something a little more, this is also English or British, but it is, just a little bit more of a down and out tale, which is kind of the stuff I look for. Something else we picked up at the used bookstore recently was Stephen King on writing, and I'm just kind of reading this for fun, every couple days before I go to bed or in the morning. It's not something that I feel like I have to commit to by a certain time period, which is really good. But I am enjoying it. It's really interesting. It talks about writing, talks about Stephen King's childhood. It's not an autobiography, but it's very similar. It's kind of just little vignettes of Stephen King's life and what inspired him to write, different things about his family. Another paperback here that I plan on starting soon is One Up on Wall Street by David Lynch, or Peter Lynch, I'm sorry. My brother told me to start reading this. So this is going to be something I'm going to add to my cerebral sort of list of books to read, something a little bit different, probably rather dry, but I think it's going to help me learn about money, learn about the economy, learn about the stock market. Brand new copy. So those are the works in progress. So let's start with these beautiful hardcover backs that I acquired recently. This is one of my most prized possessions that we bought recently. Hardcover edition of Thomas Wolfe, Look Homeward Angel. Hope you guys can see that. I feel like this light is super bright. I'm not even seeing the... Oh, okay, I can kind of see it there. Thomas Wolfe. Beautiful hardcover copy. It's white. When you take it off there, beautiful writing on the side there. As you can see, really good condition. A little bit of molding on the top. And I already have one copy of Look Homeward Angel, but I'm kind of curating my own private Thomas Wolfe collection. And I want to get to the point where I have so many copies of Thomas Wolfe that I can lend them out to people. I probably would not lend out my hardcovers because these are like my babies. This has an excellent introduction by Maxwell Perkins. And let's just read the opening to Look Homeward Angel. It's very profound. A stone, a leaf, an unfound door. Of a stone, a leaf, a door. And all of the forgotten faces. Naked and alone we came into exile. In her dark womb we did not know our mother's face. From the prism of her flesh have we come into the unspeakable and incommutable prison of this earth. Man, that's just gorgeous writing. Which of us has known his brother? Which of us has looked into his father's heart? Which of us has not remained forever prison pent? Which of us is not forever a stranger and alone? O waste of loss in the hot mazes, lost among bright stars, on this most weary, unbright cinder, lost. Remembering speechlessly, we seek the great forgotten language, the lost lane end into heaven, a stone, a leaf, an unfound door, where, when. O lost, and by the wind-grieved ghost, come back again. Man, that just really gets me. That's kind of the way that I view the existentialism of life, the mystery of life, and Thomas Wolfe here captures it for us really beautifully in his debut novel, Look Homeward Angel. I am going to do a reread of this at some point, maybe towards the spring or the summer, and we can talk about Thomas Wolfe more in detail. But for now, that's where we're at with Thomas Wolfe. A little bit different. I got this book called In the Hands of the Great Spirit, The History of the Native Americans. 20,000 year history of the Native Americans by a man named Jake Page. So I'm definitely still interested in the Native American stuff. You guys heard me talking about Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I have a book about the Comanches back here that I need to get started on. I kind of want to lower this just a wee bit so you guys can see my bookshelf a little better. Can't really see them too well from here, but this is my beautiful bookshelf. Got some decorations on it, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands and my eyes into this. It's got some beautiful illustrations, some beautiful photographs. It talks about the modern Native American movements. Just really great stuff. It goes all the way from the primitive times to the modern. Here's a picture of the author here. So I'm super excited about this, guys. This is going to be a great little addition to my Native American history collection, which is something I'm passionate about. So next we have this beautiful, I was going to say introductory collection of Shakespeare, but it's way more than introductory. It contains Hamlet, King Lear, The Merchant of Venice, Antony and Cleopatra, and Cymbeline. A beautiful vintage copy of Shakespeare's work. I don't think it's like very much translated. I think it remains, you know, true to Shakespeare's original. So like I said, Benjamin McVoy kind of inspired me to get back into Shakespeare. And if you can get your hands on like a beautiful vintage copy like this, there's really nothing better. I might actually try to do something to protect the cover because it is getting pretty old. Let's see if there's a publishing date on here. 1946, so that's pretty vintage, and it's in beautiful condition, just beautiful pages. And you want to approach Shakespeare open-mindedly, you want to approach Shakespeare with patience, and you want to approach Shakespeare with knowledge, but also just with a lot of patience and excitement. You know, it is in a different, it's in sort of an old writing style, but so yeah, here we have the plays, Hamlet. So yeah, that'll be great. I think I'm going to move on to this maybe after I finish Romeo and Juliet at some point, not sure when. Up next we have the Poems and Plays of Tennyson, Alfred Lord Tennyson. And I sort of stumbled upon him after watching a YouTube video, just kind of reading about him on YouTube and stuff like that. And he definitely seems like my kind of poet. He was kind of sad, he was romantic, talked a lot about nature, so it seems like something that's going to be right up my alley. Beautiful hardcover edition. Got this this is the Modern Library edition. They actually published the collection of Proust novels that I have as well. And we'll be talking a little bit more about Marcel Proust maybe in this video or the next. So yeah, I'm super excited to get into this poetry book. I'm not sure where I'm going to start. There's a lot of essays and a lot of poetry in here, as you can see, but it's a beautiful edition, something to inspire you, something you can keep on your shelf. So super cool. Up next we have Far from the Maddening Crowd by Thomas Hardy. Beautiful edition. This must have came in like a block set without a cover, but it doesn't really need a cover now, does it? Because look how beautiful this is. Slightly perforated pages there, which I like. And I do have that beautiful hardcover of Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles that I talked to you guys about a couple videos back. But I haven't read that one yet, so I'm probably going to start with that one because that's like one of his best novels. And then I'll probably move on to Far from the Maddening Crowd. And it also has a beautiful bookmark in there. Isn't that just great? Can't go wrong with stuff like this. This is the kind of books that you're going to want to collect. I got this for $5 at the used bookstore, and it's hardcover. And my brother and I actually went to the mall to go to Barnes & Noble's. Barnes & Noble's is closed. They're going out of business, guys. So what does that mean? That means that each and every one of you, myself included, need to do what we can to support the small literature stores, the small bookstores, the used bookstores, the antique stores, all that good stuff. So go out and support the arts in your local community. Support those used bookstores because we really need them now, and now more than ever. Up next we have another beautiful copy of Francis Bacon. This is going to fit well into my I have another edition of this series of Marcus Aurelius, but this is Francis Bacon, Essays and New Atlantis. Now this is not Francis Bacon the modern artist, the painter. This is Francis Bacon the philosopher from like the 1700s, 1800s maybe. I'm super excited to read Francis Bacon. Never really read him, but he did come up quite a bit in the J. Dyer book. He comes up a lot in certain things. I'm not sure what his viewpoints are or exactly what it is he writes about, but I'm very excited to read this. These, whatever these are, classics editions, Classics Club editions are beautiful. The print is just beautiful. The pages are gorgeous. They're really old books. They're from like the 40s and the 50s, but if you can get your hands on a copy of this, it's just beautiful to add to your collection. They'll serve you for many years to come. So let's move on real quickly to the last series of paperbacks. I actually got more books recently too, but I think it'll give me an excuse to make another video, the next couple of days or the next week if we kind of split it in two. But I'll show you the last little series of paperbacks here. Let's talk briefly just about Marcel Proust, Swann's Way. And yeah, so I did finish this. This is a beautiful novel. I haven't got around to a book review yet, but I do want to do that. I'm considering reading it again before we do the book review. So that is a possibility, but I'm not sure if I'm going to, have time to squeeze in more Proust at the moment with all my other stuff, especially with Tolstoy looming over my head. But beautiful novel. And yeah, this is, part one in like a 6-book series. It's broken down by various volumes depending on the publisher or the translation. My particular one has 6 volumes, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6. 6 very hefty volumes. And I really want to eagerly get on to the next volume called In a Budding Grove. But I feel like it might be beneficial to go back and read Swann's Way. So we might do that at some point. I've got some annotations in there. Up next we have Edith Wharton, Ethan Frome. Now Edith Wharton, her name keeps coming up in a lot of videos. Carolyn Marie reads, talks about her a lot. I've never really read Edith Wharton, but the story sounds really good. It's a real short novella. Something you could definitely finish, maybe in a week or two. Brand new Penguin Classics edition, beautiful, can't go wrong with that. So yeah, that's part of book collecting, is also once you start recognizing the different publishers, you can start, organizing your books all together by publisher or by edition or by size or however you choose to do it, really. Going on 21 minutes, not too bad. Up next we have Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Brand new copy. Not sure about this translation, not sure about this edition, but the pages are beautiful. It's brand new. Beautiful print, just cannot go wrong with that. And I've been itching to get some Dostoevsky back in my collection. Crime and Punishment is a great place to start. I used to read Dostoevsky back in high school and college, maybe even middle school. So this is going to be excellent. This is a Barnes & Noble's Classics edition. It looks like a little more modern than the vintage one. Cool cover, very interesting. Who is the translator on this? I'm not really sure. Might not say. But yeah, super excited to get my teeth into that. Up next, we have another copy of Romeo and Juliet. This one's a little bigger, and it includes notes on the side to help you kind of decipher it. I'm not reading this version yet. I'm going to get through the other one that does not have any notes or references on the side. That way, you just jumping right into the deep end. And not relying on translations or references. You should just read these old plays. You should read these old novels from start to finish, and occasionally you can follow what Benjamin McVoy likes to refer to as Easter eggs or rabbit holes. Occasionally, if you don't understand something, it's good to look it up, or even if you do understand something, like Marcel Proust, for example, is always talking about paintings and musical compositions. Tolstoy does that a lot too in some of his novels, from what I understand. It's good to look those things up so you can kind of, have a frame of reference. But it's also good just to read the novel or the play or the poem in its entirety and just, trust yourself that you can understand what they're talking about. You might not always. We're talking about Shakespeare, we're talking about poetry, lofty poetry, archaic poetry, ancient poetry. It's difficult, but that's part of what makes the whole endeavor of what we're doing here on this channel now worth it. With struggle comes, with difficulty comes, beautiful things, I've found out. So you want to pick difficult books. You don't want to just be reading, Game of Thrones or something. Not that that's not a difficult book, but when we're talking about classic literature or really highbrow literature, we're talking about difficulty. There's no way around it. There's no way you can read Tolstoy without a little bit of difficulty. There's no way that you can read, even Hemingway sometimes without a little bit of difficulty. And there's no way you can read Thomas Wolfe or Leo Tolstoy or Fyodor Dostoevsky without embracing difficulty. But this is a beautiful edition. It even has illustrations in here. And I think this is going to help me to kind of put Romeo and Juliet in a better context when I'm ready for it. It's got beautiful print on it. It's got a little biography of Shakespeare. So I'm starting to collect Shakespeare. I never thought I would become a Shakespeare buff, but I do plan to pretty much, collect as many copies of Romeo and Juliet as I can, because that's just like his, one of his most famous ones, and it's a love story, and I just like it. So anyway, last but not least, we have Bleak House by Charles Dickens. don't know too much about Charles Dickens. I know about Christmas, A Christmas Carol and stuff like that, but haven't really actually ever really read Charles Dickens. But I think if you're going to go back to classic literature, you have to dip your toes into Charles Dickens. So I picked this really behemoth of a novel called Bleak House. This one's often considered Charles Dickens' masterpiece. Bleak House blends together several literary genres, detective fiction, romance, melodrama, and satire, to create an unforgettable portrait of the decay and corruption at the heart of law and society in Victorian England. So this is going to be really great. How many pages is this? This is a whopping, let's see here. This novel is a whopping 817 pages almost. So that's going to be a long one. We might, maybe after we finish the books that we're reading now, we might pick some difficult literature, and I think this might be on the list of difficult literature. So thank you so much, guys. Welcome back to the channel. And like I said, I think we're just going to keep uploading on here, but you're going to be seeing more videos like this. And I was also kind of thinking, I'm real quick to make announcements and say like, oh, I'm never going to make these videos again. I'm never going to talk about this again. But who knows, I might. But I think there's a way, if for some reason I decide that the literature videos are doing really well, the book reviews are doing really well, maybe we'll eventually take down all my old videos or maybe move them to another channel. But I think for now, why not just keep everything on here? Hopefully that's okay with everybody. And thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk to you guys very soon. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram @AndrewMarloweArtist, and we'll talk to you guys soon.